Here we go. Yeah, let's start off with the English. Cleabone, J. Cleabone. Okay, looks like he's going for some kind of King's Indian setup here, maybe. I could switch to a Botvinnik setup here, or go for a Botvinnik setup. Let's try this. He hasn't committed any of his center pawns. Yeah, there he goes. Okay, let's do this. This is going to be a Botvinnik setup. I've got the pawn triangle. The knight comes out here. Bishop here. Pawn here. Very convenient. Since he chose to put a pawn on d6, he can push either with the e-pawn or the c-pawn. But either way, we'll end up with a locked center there, which I'll try and open at the right time with the f-pawn push. It's interesting that he's taking his time in this opening. Usually players that play these kind of setups move through the opening quickly. Maybe he's just trying to assess what I've done and figure out how to react to it. So it looks like he's going for a quick f5 himself. So I could try and beat him to the punch. Play f4 first. Takes, I take. Yeah, I think that would be fine, actually. I think I'll take back with the knight here if he takes. And if the knight takes, take with the bishop. And then castle, and I'll have an open f-file to attack his king position with. And I've got good pieces. Yeah, I can go ahead and castle here, and if he takes, I can take back with the pawn. With this bishop, rather. So the rooks will be facing each other on the open f-file. Yeah, so he doesn't do that right away. I can jump my knight in here at any time. There is this loose pawn here. Okay, setting up the queen to perhaps prepare some bishop trade as well as defending the b-pawn. He lifts the rook and he provides the ability to retreat his bishop here. The bishop can drop back to avoid being traded. So let's not do that. Let's just get the rook off the diagonal and push this pawn. Push the b-pawn. Maybe I'll go a3, b4. Grab some space on the queen side. This knight's in a good spot, yeah. But then I've got control of this square at the moment. I have to be careful, right? This is a big fork here. But I have the bishop and the rook on that square. And, you know, I guess I could put the queen here, defending that pawn, and then push this pawn forward. Might be an idea to kick the knight out of that square. I guess that would lose this pawn. So he's doing something interesting here. What's he going to do this after I take? I don't know. He wants to trade bishops. I thought he did all of this to avoid the bishop trade. I am curious. Let's, oh, I can't take there because his bishop is on it. Okay. Let's take and take. He takes back with the bishop. He resigned. Yeah, this was not going well for him. Although resigning seems extreme. Is there some big threat here I'm not seeing? Yeah, if I take and he takes back, here, let's just take a little bit of a look at this. If I take and he takes back, he's got his knight and his bishop lined up there. Although the bishop is pinned. I guess this is the problem. Yeah, but he can take with the knight. So, yeah, I don't see any immediate disaster here for him. I mean, he's down a pawn and his king position is open. This position looks a little bit awkward, but if he ever takes here, let's see, that was the last move. What could I do? I could bring my knight out. Yeah, I'm not seeing the killer move that ends this. If he takes, well, if he won't take here now because I'll take his queen. If he moves the queen, I guess I can, well, I still can't chase this knight away. It's still a problem. Could defend the pawn like this, I guess. Anyway, let's see if we can get another game here and play a rapid game this time. Oh, look at that rating, 2045. I'll go with the Sicilian. And let's play the Con Sicilian. See how he plays against it. Not wanting to go to one of the other more mainline Sicilians against a strong player. They might know how to refute it. I think queen here and knight to f6 is the plan. The queen keeps this pawn from coming forward, actually. Ah, so now he pushes the f-pawn, but that creates weaknesses too. Yeah, I need to get castled, so I want to bring the bishop out. If he plays e5, though, I have to figure out what I want to do about it. Knight to this square doesn't look that attractive. He'll just take it, I guess. But there's not much. There's not many places for that knight to go. Guess I can do that. Try and keep control of the e5 square. There's no immediate check to my king. Bishop there I can take. Well, he could sacrifice a knight there and then bring the bishop there. Okay, but anyway, because the way I've played, that means this bishop goes here. I'll get castled, and I can bring a rook to the center. Now I have to decide here. Don't have to decide here. I want to decide here how to resolve the center. Let's. How about if I push the e-pawn? He takes, I take, and then he moves the knight. Where's the knight going? go here. I can take it and trade it anyway. Don't like that it opens up the F file for him. Okay, yeah, I'll just hold steady here for a while, develop my bishop and try and put pressure on the center. Now this bishop is blocking his rook, so e5 maybe is possible again. It might have been possible before, I just didn't like it. Because with the bishop blocking the rook, when the knight comes here, oh, my bishop is moved too, though. I was going to say, then I could take it, but I don't have a bishop to take it with. So e5 is still not the greatest. So if I play d5, and he pushes instead of taking, and I can go here, knight takes, pawn takes, and then he has to move his bishop. And I can push the pawn forward here to defend. Not right away, because I have to worry about e6. His knight is looking at e6. Well, let's see what he does here, and then maybe we'll come up with a plan. I could just keep developing, bring this knight out to c6, trade this guy off. That would help with this problem of the knight to f5. Okay, so he makes a kind of waiting move, keeps my knight out of this square, I guess. So I decided to go for this knight c6 idea. Oh, not a waiting move. It was intended to start this pawn storm. So let's kick that guy. Let's kick this guy. Now, this is attacked twice and defended twice. I can also bring my bishop out here, but I can bring the queen in just to threaten to take there. So, bring a rook over here first. Which rook? Okay, well, first of all, let's look at queen here. If I put the queen here, attacking this pawn, I would have to take with a bishop or a knight. So he could attack my queen. If I put the queen here, am I threatening to take? Knight takes, queen takes, bishop takes. I'm not really threatening to take. But he can't play this pawn up immediately because he needs to defend his knight on c3. So, yeah, let's pile up on that weakened pawn there. And there's still the idea of bishop here, putting the bishop on the same diagonal as the king and the bishop. Maybe it's a problem that this bishop is loose here. Actually, yeah, there is a problem here. Sorry, I just spotted it. Queen here. Oh, it can't go there because of the knight. If it weren't for the knight, there might have been a problem with queen here, forking my two loose bishops. But the knight, lucky for me, is guarding that square. So he pushes his pawn forward. I take here. Then he brings his queen in. Then he decides to attack my queen. Oh, he switches to that side. Okay. Interesting. Let's see what we can do about this dark squared diagonal here. So we have the dark squares. This is pretty well defended here. Let's think about what to do with the rook. Or the knight. He's going to perhaps push this pawn forward. My knight has to move. The knight can't go here because of where his queen is. Going here and here would be nice, but it seems I can't do that. And I can't take here because it's protected. So that means the knight is going somewhere like this square. And maybe it'll come back into the game some other fashion. It could also go back here. He's got a bad bishop. Good knight though. Yeah, let's do something with my pawns here. So knight here, and the rook has to move. Then rook over. Maybe he's thinking of sacrificing. I could lift a rook up and bring it over to check his king after the g file opens up. And my queen is already looking at a square on the g file. What has he got here? His bishop is still pretty useless. The knight maybe can jump in here. Or maybe he can, yeah, I thought he might go for it. So he gives up the exchange. And my plan was just to take back here. He can lift up his queen. He can bring his queen here with check. So if I take queen here, check, king over, I could keep things closed here like so. And here, this is a tricky point. I think I will choose to blockade with the rook here. Try and hold on to things over here. Yeah, he's going to try and bring his queen in. First we'll put a rook in front. Next I'm bringing the queen in. And if his knight tries to hop in, I'm just going to chop it off. Even though that will open up his bishop, it'll also allow me to get my other rook in. Yeah, I thought he might go there. So just queen here. Stops him from penetrating and threatens to take the pawn. And at the moment, his bishop can't defend that. And then I'll be able to double my rooks on the f-file. So I think I managed to hold off his attack. And let's count the pawns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so I'm just up a pure exchange. Rook for knight. And I have a better bishop, I think, too. Yeah, because of the spin here, I could even lift a rook up to this square. But, well, that's a bit hypothetical. I don't see what he can do. This knight, to get into the game, it can't really come forward. It's got to go in some other direction. Maybe back here. Because if it comes forward, I'll just chop it off. Okay. Here, I'm just going to take that. Looks like he's trying to get me to undefend this pawn, but I can take the rook with my king. Keep this pawn defended. Then I'm going to bring my rook in. Yeah, I'm going to take that knight. Whereas, now after I take the knight, he will be threatening here. I can place my queen here, or I can place my rook here. Well, let's go ahead and take and then decide. Ah, I can push. I can push this pawn. That's even better. He can push his pawn too, but I can step my queen up, it looks like. And my rook will still stop the pawn from queening, so I'll even have time to take his bishop. Yeah, so I can just take this pawn now. No, I can't. Yeah, don't get cocky, kid. Let's see if we can get the pawn this way. He resigned, yeah, so that was it. Okay, we got time for one more game. Let's see if we can keep our trend going here. Let's see, we played in English and we played a Sicilian. Okay, I'm black again. Let's play something else, maybe just a e4, e5 classical opening. The Italian game. Very popular these days. Now, preparing a retreat square for the bishop. I'm going to Defend the center. Yeah, I mean there's these tempo moves here, bong and then bong, hitting the queen and then hitting the knight, so that this this pawn ends up being loose if you're not careful. And now I can develop my knight. He defends, and then I can stop his pin. So this came out okay for black. There are various difficulties that I avoided, and now we have a pretty even position. So I can push the A pawn here, see if he wants to push forward or trade, or allow me to trade. Or I could develop my bishop. Let's do this. If he takes, I'll take back and I'll have an open F file. So he retreats. Looks like everybody knows that trick these days. If I put a piece here, knight takes, bishop takes, pawn takes. I have these doubled pawns here. Let's bring my knight over to the king side. If I can't put it up here, maybe I can put it here. He didn't challenge my bishop on this diagonal. This can be a really strong piece. So let's see if I can find a good way to make use of it. So for example, I can put a piece on this square because of the pin on the f-pawn. Something like knight here to here. Doesn't do anything right now, but it could do something at some point. So he repositions his bishop. Now at any time I can distract his rook and then gain a tempo on it with my queen hitting it. Let's get rid of all the ink. I think just knight here. Let's see what he does about it. Another idea is just to trade bishops and retreat the knight to the e6 square, which is a good square, looking out on two squares it might run to. He puts his knight there. Okay, so this is an interesting moment. I can take the knight, and he will take with the bishop. If he takes with the pawn, this pawn is loose. And that way I will keep my my good dark squared bishop, but he will have a good light squared bishop. This diagonal is a good diagonal for him as well. After he takes, I take back with a pawn. This is going to be loose, but maybe he takes my bishop then. Let's lift my queen up. I'm thinking maybe there's a sacrifice here. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, and I'm threatening mate here with the help of that knight. He just wanted to get rid of that knight. Okay. That's something. So now what's going on now? I have the bishop pair momentarily, but he can take this off at any time. And he does. So now this pawn is loose. That's what I was looking forward to, opening up that A file. But he can solve the problem by just trading this bishop. He does. And so, yeah, probably just an even position here. I can put a knight out here, holding on to this pawn, or I could push a pawn forward. Yeah, I have to decide how to defend that. I guess since his queen is no longer on this diagonal, defending with the knight is okay. Then I'll push the f-pawn forward and try and trade off some of his center while keeping this pressure on the a-pawn. Mr. the K's, he's doing a good job here. Yeah, so he goes back to looking at my knight. So let's just defend the knight. I'm trying to provoke him to like play a pawn move up, and I'll just take on passant. But I have to make sure I have squares I can run to, and I have to make sure the knight is not loose there for any discovered attacks by his knight. He goes there anyway. So where's a good square for me here? But I don't want to be on that diagonal. I don't want to be in front of the f-pawn mainly. But I won't be able to push it. I won't be able to push that f-pawn. That's why I didn't want to put my queen there, because it was blocking the f-pawn. But I'm not going to be able to push it as long as this knight is there anyway. So let's kick the knight away first. So I kick, or the knight will go here. Okay, change of plan. Instead of pushing the f-pawn, I will push the I'll push the d-pawn. He is going to try and gang up on that pawn. I mean, I can always push here, but at the moment, yeah, I can't always push there. At the moment, if I push there, the knight would be loose. Okay, if he plays pawn up, then I can take en passant. My queen and his queen will be facing each other, and the knight will be defending my queen. So I guess it's all right. Pawn up here. He pushes, I take. He takes. That's the problem, he takes. So I have to defend that pawn. But he left his queen hanging. Should I give him a take back? He obviously planned that out, but he blundered. What should he do? Misclicked. Yeah, I don't think that was a misclick, but whatever. Whatever. Okay, so now I do have to trade anyway. Okay, so finally I can open up this, open up the center here. He can double ricks on the f-file. He just said thanks, and I said sure. Need to defend this pawn. And I needed to, I wanted to keep this rook on this file so that if this pawn comes forward, I can take it. He never moved that pawn though, so he took with that. He took with the pawn. The knight is defending. Okay, now I can bring my knight here to here. That might be good. Threatening to go to g5. I suppose he can keep pushing. If he pushes the h pawn, I push the g pawn, he takes, I take. Oh, he pushes that pawn. Okay, so now if I go here, isn't this attacking too many things at once? I'm attacking this pawn. I'm attacking this pawn. Anyway, yeah, in the other line with the pawn forward, I would push my g pawn, he takes, I take, and then my knight could have maybe gone to this square to bottle up. His rook's on the f-file. Might have been good. Okay, I can just take that. I can take the rook with check, so I don't have to take the pawn first. So this should be good for me now. At least I didn't get punished for accepting his misclick. That's always nice. It's annoying when someone misclicks and you let them off the hook and then they go on to beat you. One more match, please. Okay, I just put in a little ad for myself. He said he was going to resign, huh? I already said no. I'm not going to say it again. Say thanks for the game.